So, and that was, somebody said official. So I'm really glad to see this, and definitely think it's very important for us to do this.
Thank you. So I do have a motion. Can I get a second? Second by Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk? Garfield Apple?
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons?
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller?
Yes.
James Cross? Sonia Little Hawk Weston?
Ha.
Jackie Sears?
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance?
Yes.
Craig Dillon? Yes. Cora Whitehorse?
Yes.
Valentina Mardanian? Bo Little White Man?
Yes.
Chancey Wilson?
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow?
Nope.
Randy Laisbad?
Yes.
Richard Greenwald?
Yes.
Makina Mills?
Yes.
Robin Tapio?
Yes.
18 yes, unanimous, motion carried. Second resolution.
Did you have something?
Just a quick comment.
Councilman Greenwald.
Just a quick comment, because I know that some of the districts do their own, but following the same federal financial management system as the tribe, they still have to record all their monetary cash coming in at the district and how they spend it, right? Just like a regular accounting of all their monies and whatever, right? Okay. I just don't want no district president or something getting in trouble because he might deposit it in his own account instead of whatever, you know.
Councilwoman Sears.
I think with the council doing this, I think our districts will probably follow suit.
Next item, Councilwoman Whitehorse.
Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe authorizing the treasurer to set up a bank account in the name of the Oglala Sioux Tribe to be used for donations received by the Oglala Sioux Tribe and to be identified for the tribe as a disaster donation account. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934. And under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas, pursuant to the Constitution and bylaws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council exercises legislative powers to enact and promulgate resolutions and ordinances. And whereas Article 3, Article 4, Section 1F, 1K, 1M, 1W empowered the Tribal Council to manage the economic affairs of the tribe, protect and preserve the property of the tribe, adopt laws governing the conduct of persons on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and adopt laws protecting and promoting the health and general welfare of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and its membership. And whereas Article 4, Section 1T of the Constitution gives the Tribal Council the power to delegate its enumerated powers to subordinate boards or officers, reserving the right to review their actions taken by virtue of such delegated power. And whereas Article 13, Section 4 of the Constitution provides that the Treasurer shall be the custodian of all funds which come under the jurisdiction or control of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council. And whereas due to the recent state of emergency declaration by the President of the Oglala Sioux Tribe for Winter Storm Ulmer and other recent natural disasters, the tribe desires to establish a separate bank account for the disaster donations received by the tribe. And whereas the Tribal Council believes it is in the best interest of the tribe to authorize a treasurer to set up a bank account in the name of the Oglala Sioux Tribe to be used for donations received by the Oglala Sioux Tribe for disasters and to be identified by the tribe as the disaster donation account. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby authorizes the treasurer to set up a bank account in the name of the Oglala Sioux Tribe to be used for donations received by the Oglala Sioux Tribe for disasters and to be identified by the tribe as the disaster donation account. Be it further resolved that the treasurer shall be the signatory on such account. Motion to approve. And on this, there is already a donation account, but the powwow is also using that account. So if we keep this separate, then it'll be a lot clearer when we get the bank statements.
Okay, got a motion. Do I have a second? second by Councilman Little White Man. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentina Mardanian, Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chauncey Wilson, Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Grunwald,
Yes.
Nikina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio,
Ha.
18 yes, unanimous, motion carried. We just have the treasurer's report. Do you want him here for that or move it to the next?
They have his report.
Right. Or does anybody want a motion to approve his report?
Motion for next month, being as he isn't here.
Motion to move it to next month, second by Councilman Tulance. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentina Mardanian, Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chauncey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nikina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio.
Yes.
18 yes, unanimous, motion carried. Closes the treasurer's office. Fifth member's office, he's not here. Do we want to do the same thing? Can I get a motion? Got a motion by Councilman Dillon, second by Councilwoman Mills. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentina Mardanian, Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chauncey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nikina Mills, Robin Tapio,
Yes.
18 yes, unanimous, motion carried. That closes that out. Now moving into the 29 2/3 items. Okay, Secretary just made a comment that we have only 17 because we took care of some of them earlier. So the first one, we have land restructure of Parks and Rec.
Thank you, Chairman. On the March 18, 2019, the Land Committee held a regular session, and we came up with three items. The first of which is I think they're all ordinances. This is the first one. Ordinance of the Oglala Sioux Tribe suspending the charter of the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated. Ordinance 7307 and removing immediately the Board of Directors of Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934. And under Article 3 of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas the Constitution and bylaws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe vest the Tribal Council with authority in Article 4, Section 1M to protect and preserve the property, wildlife, and natural resources of the tribe, and to regulate the conduct of trade and use and disposition of property upon the reservation. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council did issue a charter to the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated by adopting ordinance number 73-07 on the 19th of August 1973, and whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land and Natural Resource Committee is a standing committee of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council who did meet with a quorum present on the 18th day of March 2019 at the Justice Center in the Oglala Sioux Tribal Court Building, and did adopt this ordinance for presentation to the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council for their action. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe is aware of the financial and audit issues that have been plaguing the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated for the last several years. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe believes that the charter of the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated should be suspended immediately until the financial and audit issues are corrected. Now, therefore, be it ordained that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council, based upon the recommendation of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land and Natural Resource Committee, does hereby suspend the charter, Ordinance 7307 of the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated, immediately, and such suspension should remain in effect until the Oglala Sioux Tribe reinstates the charter. Be it further ordained that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council does hereby state the Ordinance 1011 shall remain in effect. Be it further ordained that the Oglala Sioux Tribe does hereby direct that the Oglala Sioux Parks Board of Directors is with the suspension of the charter hereby removed immediately. Be it further ordained that the Oglala Sioux Tribe does hereby direct Mr. Gary Roos to immediately begin a complete inventory of all property of the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated. Be it further ordained that the Oglala Sioux Land and Natural Resource Committee shall perform the functions of the Oglala Sioux Parks Board during the suspension of the charter. Be it further ordained that the Oglala Sioux Tribe does state that Mr. Taylor Little White Man shall remain as interim director of the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated. Be it further ordained that during the suspension of the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated shall submit to the Oglala Sioux Tribal Treasurer for review all expenditures of the Oglala Sioux Parks Board Incorporated prior to the expenditures being paid. Be it further ordained that the resolutions or ordinances which are in conflict of this ordinance are suspended immediately. Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Councilwoman Sears?
Yes, I wanted to find out what this was about. I don't sit on land committees, so I'm kind of wondering what the reason was. So I think we need to hear from, my district member sits on the board, and that's Miss Mary Tobacco, and she called me today and asked me what was going on. And I told her I didn't know, but we'll find out when council starts. So I'd like to give them the floor, my board member.
Okay, before we give them the floor, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more there?
This basically what the ordinance reads, the audits, they were reviewed by our treasurer on the 18th, and he stated that they are bad audits, and we can't continue with such audits or such spending with our program, because we are liable for that charter.
Correct. Thank you for that, Chairman. At this time, we'll hear from Councilwoman Sears' Parks Board member.
Thank you. This is pretty sort of disappointing, because as much work as we've been doing for the last 2 years that I've been on parks, and our audits are great. There's a little issue I heard with our buffalo inventory, but we've done a lot of good work. And so we didn't bring this issue back to my district membership. And I talked to Sonia Woodsey, Jackie about this already, that we're elected also. And our district has a right to know what's going on and a right to talk to our council representatives. And that hasn't happened. You passed the Buffalo brand without consulting with our district, and we have a couple of buffalo herds in our district. It affects them. It never came to us. So this issue needs to come back to our district. And the audits, but like saying hearsay, that's hearsay. Bring our auditor, let him go through the report, and let them cite all of the findings, because you're not going to find them. It's just not a valid statement. And so we have put so much work into what we're doing. We're ready to hire 9 recreation specialists. If you talk to my community, all 6 of my presidents, they'll tell you how hard we've worked on these parks for our kids. Every time we meet, we talk about parks and recreation. That was the whole purpose of me going onto the parks, and now you want to just without consulting with us, without talking to us, without even coming to my district, to our 6 communities, including this one, you just want to stop everything. This has to come back to the districts. This has to come back to the people. I trust my representatives to make decisions for us a lot of times, but some issues, they have to come back to the district. And you have to say, yep, you're right. Your audits are poor. You're not doing your jobs. But I've never heard that from my community or my district or my representatives.
Thank you, Ms. Tobacco. Your 2 minutes is up. I just want to say it's kind of a little conflicting if you're speaking on as a chairwoman or as a board member.
I'm speaking as both, and I'm also speaking as a grandma, as a parent. My whole purpose for getting on the parks and getting on our district government was to build parks and recreation. And we've got to a point where now we can hire 9 recreation specialists. We have a procedure in place to build these parks and recreation on the reservation.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarification.
I still have the floor, and I wanted to also ask, the chair, if the audit was shared with the council so we can see something in writing. Yeah, I don't have anything in writing regarding what happened, but that's my concern is we should see it. So we can ask questions. I don't know who to ask. We should have somebody here that can explain those audits, explain if there's any kind of spending that wasn't happening right. And I think that I did attend some of the Parks Board meetings, and I was invited there by my representative for the parks to come and listen in and help advocate for parks and recreation for the children and for our families. And it was really a good meeting. You know, they explained their budget, they went over how they were saving, and you know, I know that we need to, there's things that happened in the past, and it takes time to correct. You know, just like with the tribes, when we get a bad finding, we come back and we correct those actions. So I think we need to give them time. So myself, I'd like to just table this and send it back to the districts. You know, and so we can inform the people what's going on, and have the representatives that sit on land come and explain it to the districts what's going on. That's my motion.
Okay, I do have a motion to table. A second by Councilman Tua, Secretary, or... Okay.
I got a comment. I try to be brief. You know, when I came into council, I didn't come into council to pull charters, man. That's the last thing I got on the council for. When we have charters that are struggling, our committee should be there with open arms to say, what can we do to help you? How can we get you guys back in line, and what can we do to fix this? But for some reason, this last couple of years, we were pulling charters left and right. And I know there's a reason that we need to stay on top of different things, because when the finances get out of sorts, sometimes we end up stuck with paying back, you know, things like that. What happened with the cops and the universal cops with public safety and Changleshka years back. But I don't honestly want to be known as the tribal council that constantly is pulling people's charters. We should be working with these charters to make sure that they're successful, not to be dragging them down all the time. Just my input.
Okay, Councilman Yellowhawk?
Yes. Thank you, President. You know, I for one look at the documents and performance of any position and people. HHS just came before us, want to fire a doctor and the staff. Now, I support that HHS. I believe what they're saying. That's what we should do. Land committees looked at the audits, last 3 years, question cost, disallowed cost, lack of inventory, missing buffaloes. Some buffaloes sold somewhere, and because they have no blends, the U.S. attorney failed to prosecute. That's what the report we got from the law enforcement. These are issues that affect our people, not individuals. I look out for the entire tribe. I took the oath of office to defend the Constitution and tribe. And I look forward to improving everything. For years and years, we look the other way when something goes wrong. Oh, give them a chance. How many chances have you given every person that you run into? Is it because you're relative? You're related? You know, let's look at the importance of the Oyape Lakota. We're not for individuals. We're supposed to be for the entire tribe. The land committee took a look at everything. And they came up with a report for supporting this, just like HHS did. They came in with a resolution to take adverse action. We didn't say give them another chance. We believe the land at HHS committee. What do we have committees for? You know? There's audit. I look at the paper. I don't listen to what people say. If I listen to it, but then again, they have to prove it. That was my question on HHS when they come in. Bring me the documents. Give me the proof. Did you investigate? And they said they did. So I take the word for it. This is something that we need to take a look at.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yellowhawk. Your Time is up. Councilwoman Tapia?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I sit on Land Committee too, and I did listen to the treasurer and also see firsthand for myself, you know, and I'm not about pulling charters either. You know, I know that they are a sub-branch of the tribe, but three things I look at is their audit, internal controls, and compliance issues. And after seeing that, then I was in favor of doing this. And we're not pulling the charter, we're suspending the charter, just like we did with the housing, to restructure and to make things better. Not to pull the charter and take it away, but to suspend it and restructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Tapio. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I think at times, sometimes as tribal leaders, you know, we are on tribal council to make the best possible decisions for the Oglala Sioux tribe. And I think that we always make decisions at our executive board, I mean, at our standing committee level before we bring it to council. And I always believe that when it comes from a committee, we have to listen to it and we have to address it. Whether or not we might not agree with it or not. I think when the housing charter came in front of us, there was things that we had asked for, but they brought them to us. Those are the audits. There was things that we wanted to see as tribal council, and we did see it. And I think we made a good decision at that time to do what we did. And now we're going through the restructuring of trying to get housing to where it needs to be again. And I want to say that, you know, sometimes we have to do that with these charters. We got to remember that these charters belong to the Oglala Sioux tribe. And even though there's a board above it, you know, I think sometimes, you know, you have to understand that when the council sees these financial documents, which I like to see too in front of me, if the CEO is here and if he might have something that we need to look at, let's look at it. Because, you know, I think that those would be my questions. You know, we can listen to the board, but looking back at housing, you know, we never even gave that board the opportunity to be heard. You remember, we never even allowed them. We didn't give them the floor. We didn't even say, yes, come to here and we'll give you the mic and you can talk on your behalf. Not once did we do that. This governing body didn't do that. But tonight we did that. We're doing that. And so when we're putting precedent, you know, let's stick to what our council needs to do. You know, as legislators, we have to make the best possible decisions. But if the chair of the CEO or the CEO of Parks Board, if they have something that they like to share, I like to see it in order for me to make a good decision based on the land, on the restructuring part of it. But before I know my time's up, but I want to say something about that brand, because I was called upon that issue. And one of the things I want to say is that that issue came to the Land Committee last administration by Mr. C.J. Clifford. You know, and I want to say that tonight. He brought that to us because he felt that it should be done. Because when we look back at the history of Land Parks Board, Parks Office, we were always told that buffalo were missing. Things were missing and nobody could never track them down or who took them or who stole them. And so CJ brought that forward. I want to remember CJ tonight. He brought that forward. We passed it through Land Committee and it passed through Tribal Council. So I know that our people see it differently. But again, as Tribal Council, we have to look at it too, that we need to protect our buffalo that belongs to the tribe. And so that's the reason why we took action last administration. And we have to clarify that to the people about sometimes things don't go back to the district, but because our people put us in these positions to make the best possible decisions. And sometimes we have to do that, just like our district government does the same thing. So I have to just put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I have Councilman Apple, Councilwoman Merdanian, and then Councilwoman Sears. Then I'm going to cease the discussion and run the tabling motion that I have on the floor. Councilman Apple.
For years I've been one of the elected officials of my district, and I do believe in being an elected official for my district to represent. I represent those people out there. And throughout the years, I've been trusted by them to get elected so many times to the same positions. And I never let them down, and I'm not letting them down now. We gave the board a chance to come in and explain. At a meeting we had, a land meeting we had in our chambers, each one of you had a chance to come in and explain what was going on with Parks and Rec. We didn't know. We told you, I don't know what's going on. Tell me. Tell this committee. So you guys all had a chance to come in and voice your opinion on anything you wanted to tell us. One of the board members even said, I need my lawyer. I gotta have my lawyer before I tell anything. Why would he say something like that? I said, there's nothing going on here. Just stand here and give a report while you're on the committee. So he did. But these are red flags that go up. And then I asked Taylor for the audits. Could you give us the audits for 3 years back? And he did. I made copies and I gave them to the committee. And we had a meeting on the 18th, and like I said, Mason had a chance to read them. And at that meeting, he told us that they are bad audits that get worse throughout the years. So I told AC, look at the audits. Remembered me telling you that? Look at the audits. So that's what you guys did have a chance to talk to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Apple. Councilwoman Merdanian.
I believe that, you know, this discussion, there is a motion, and the reality is that there are issues, and it wouldn't have come to the floor if there isn't issues that were brought to our attention. And the discussion that we did have was to have the board give a report on how they feel the organization is moving forward. And these concerns did come forward through, you know, different multiple meetings. Yes, I mean, so it's not that, you know, we're trying to attack any one person or any one thing. We just want to be able to look at this to take some corrective action. But I agree, it should go to the district, because there are representatives from each district to be able to, not for them to, for us, the land committee, to give that report, but that's the part representatives' responsibility to give that report to the people that these are some of the issues that exist. And so I think, you know, if the motion maker can make that motion, and then to bring it back within a certain time frame.
Thank you, Councilwoman Merdanian. Councilwoman Sears.
Yes, I can include that in my motion, and I'd like to give the floor to the two board members here.
President Berenes, so we were called to the land committee, but we weren't told why. And then we were just sort of asked how we thought Parks was going. So we told them what we thought, and then the guy that said I needed a lawyer was Norman, and Norman's like always teasing Norman Standing Soldier, so that's sort of taken out of context. And then the other thing is, like, Mason, Garfield still, before he left here, he said he talked to Mason about the audits, and he said Mason told him the audits were good. And actually, he said the only thing was the buffalo count, which fluctuates. And then you brought up the stolen buffalo. So as soon as I took office as a Parks Board member, that issue came forward. So we motioned to reopen that investigation. And so that's an investigation that's ongoing, and it was opened immediately as soon as we took office. So I think that happened, that was way before my time, but I know as soon as it came forward to us that we motioned to reopen that investigation. So it's an open investigation. And then I don't think we were given like any real, nobody gave us any time to prepare when we came to the land committee. They just said, come to the land committee, took us in and asked questions, but we didn't even see the documents that the executive director provided to you, so we haven't even seen those. But I think we just need to bring the documents like we're saying and let the districts hear everything, because I report to my district, and then I just don't think it's like a fair process, you know? So, thank you.
I'm AC Nobrade. I'm the chairman of Park and Recs. Mr. Apple was talking about a meeting they had last week that we were there and we could say something, but they went into executive and kicked us out. They called in Mr. Lil White Man, and then I don't know what was said, and he came out. So we never got a chance to address nothing. And yes, you did tell me about things, but you never gave us a chance, an honest chance to address anything. And we do have a report tonight. And we were making one. We're getting one to bring to you guys, to the land committee, and then to the council. So it's not like we're trying to, and I don't get where you're coming from about, mismanaging money. We're not. We're doing really good. Your buffalo herd's doing awesome. Your workers are doing good jobs. So I don't know. And if your treasurer's saying that those audits are bad, but then we could have Mandy come here, our auditor, and explain to those about those audits. If that's what you want, council will do it. So you're talking about stolen buffalo too? That's a whole different subject, but that would have to go into executive for that. So there's a lot of things, and our acting director, if you want to have a report, he could give you one. We could give you an update of what's going on.
Councilman, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Initially, I was going to ask the floor for Ace, but I think that in talking with our Parks and Recreation rep, we talked about it in some, but he's always saying that they're positive, and I mean, in dealing with the issues with the operation of Parks and Recreation, the Buffalo, whether it's an administration of the program of Parks and Recreation. And to me, I think that whenever you have an audit, like in Pork Pine School, we had an audit and situations, and whenever we took over in 2002, Mr. Paul Ironclad and some of the other board members, we made it a point to whatever the negative of the audits, we put a plan in place, and from there on we had positive audits all the way through, all the way up to now. And so I think that the Park and Recreation board members and the administration should be given the opportunity to make corrections. And to me, I listened to some of that, what was being said during the land committee, and what was said during the executive session, and there's some areas that I disagree with, but I won't go into it. But to me, I think that I don't think that we should jerk the charter myself, and give them a chance. That's the only thing I have to say.
Thank you. Councilman Goodcrow, just a clarification of this motion. It's not to jerk the charter, it's to suspend. last two people I'm gonna offer discussion to is Mr. Greenwald and Councilwoman Bearkiller.
You know, it's to suspend and to remove a board that governs it right now, but and I don't mean no disrespect to the land committee, but if you're asking me as another fellow council representative to suspend a charter, I didn't get the documents, I didn't get to see your guys' anything that you had, so you're asking me just to say, okay, whatever land committee said, I agree with, without seeing anything. And for me, if we're gonna do something huge like this, put something in my box or say, hey, Rich, you need to read this and get caught up so you know what's going on with this. But I have seen nothing on this at all. I haven't seen your audits, anything. So for me to make a decision tonight is really hard because I haven't seen anything. I hear what you're saying, and it is really concerning. It is. But I haven't seen anything, so it makes it hard for me to make a decision.
Councilwoman Bearkiller.
Okay, I guess I'm in the same position where Rich is coming from. I don't have the audits in front of me. All I hear is what Land is saying and what she's saying and he's saying like that. I don't have the document in front of me. I did ask the treasurer, and he said that there was it was a qualified audit, right? And he's saying a qualified audit is not a good audit. But I don't have it in front of me. We need to look at it. And some of us, you know, we're not on land, just like they're saying. But if any committee, like we did the housing charter, if you're gonna bring something on a charter, we should have those documents in front of us. So tonight, you know, I think it's kind of a deal where, yeah, you're gonna suspend it for 60 days and what? What is the plan? What's the plan?
Thank you, Councilwoman Bearkiller. I'm gonna run this motion, but I'm gonna ask Councilwoman Sears, do you wanna insert something on when you're gonna bring this back?
Yeah, I think we need to meet with our districts and get a report from our Parks and Rec, and then probably go back through land, and I suggest that all the council get invited. If it's something really serious as a charter, we need to have everybody on the same page with documentation, and we need to hear from the treasurer. We need to hear from the auditor to see what's going on.
So that's why I'm asking, like, do you 2 weeks, a month, and then now I could even set up a special meeting for this?
Maybe 30 days, 60 days?
If we do 30 days, then that will be the next council meeting.
Yeah, 30 days.
Next regular session. Councilman Dillon.
I got a text from Mason. A qualified audit is a bad audit. An unqualified audit is a good audit. One of the main things in an audit is they're not keeping track of their buffalo. And that's why there's a bad audit. And if you're a rancher, you keep track of your stock or you don't have them very long. There's issues that need to be addressed. I say run the vote and let's see what happens. And then I expect to see a lot of people at the land committee meetings from now on, because the way it sounds here is if a committee decides something and brings it to this floor, everybody's going to have to see all the evidence from now on. So I guess we're going to have to go to all the committee meetings, because when we bring something, that isn't good enough anymore. And that's going to break down tribal government. So we might as well have a council meeting every day and do all of our business out in the public and get it over with. Because the way committees are working now, people don't believe them, so why have them? You know, we have to look at that. Because if land committee brings something, that's fine. HHS brings it, fine. Law and order, fine. I expect you, when you go to them committee meetings, to do your job and to be impartial and to look at what's going on and look out for this tribe. You know, people worry about too much about their colas and their relatives that work in these programs. The thing about it is we want to keep this tribe up and running. That's my job. And I believe people when they tell me, I guess I'm too trusting, that something's going on, because I've done that in the past. I've trusted the people who brought the information. We're supposed to be credible. We're supposed to be colleagues that sit around this table, and we're supposed to have some trust. But if that's going to go away, then let's have council meetings every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary, call for the vote, please. It's a motion to table and refer back, or bring it back at the next regular session council meeting. With supporting, is that what you want in there? With supporting documentation.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
No.
Garfield Apple,
No?
Glenn Gibbons,
No.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
No.
Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Not voting. Doesn't matter.
Cora Whitehorse,
No.
Valentina Merdanian,
Uh-huh.
Bo Little White Man, Chancey Wilson,
No.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh,
Randy Laisbad,
yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nikina Mills,
No.
Robin Tapio,
No.
Eight yes, 8 no, 2 not voting. That brings us to a tie, and I'm gonna have to vote not to table this. I think we need to deal with this. I mean, if we, I mean, and if this is the thing that we're gonna do, we're just gonna, just have council meeting every day, then, let's have council meeting every day and do away with our committees. I mean, our committee chair is here, and I do have to say, Mr. Tulance, you seconded this motion to bring this to this floor, and then you seconded the motion to table it.
I was misunderstanding. The line can,
Okay. So, motion failed. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
You know, I really agree with what Mr. Dillon said. And I really want to say that every one of our committees, 6 standing committees, we need to respect each other's committee actions. We should look at the part where we're colas, our friends, our relatives. We can't do that no more. Because you know what? That hurts us as a tribe today. And that's why we can never progress. We had to take some actions in HHS. Some of council wasn't there, but some of us were. And we took those actions because as tribal leaders, we have the courage to do it. I'm one leader that always says that I have the courage to make whatever decisions that come from those committees because I respect them. I respect them because when they're sitting in those committees, apparently you guys addressed it. You guys addressed it and now you brought it to the council floor. But what happens is what happens like this. Then it hinders everything. Then we can't never move forward. But meantime, our buffalo are somewhere. And I want to say that Brand never said it affected anybody's buffalo in the districts. It only pertained to parks and recreation buffalo. That's what we said. That's what the past Mr. C.J. Clifford said when he brought that law forward. It did say, if you own buffalo out there in the districts, you own them, then we're not saying that about you. We're saying that just with our buffalo that belong to the people. So I want to clarify that tonight because the people are calling and saying, you're telling us we can't have buffalo. We don't want that tribal brand on it. Well, we understand that, Oyate. I hope you're listening tonight. We don't mean you. We just are talking about our buffalo under the Parks and Recreation. And remember, that's our charter. And let us look at it and decide what needs to get done. And let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston. And Tribal Council, I mean, that's, that's a big thing, that our buffalo, to some serious allegations, and I mean, and if this is something that needs to be addressed. You know, time and time again, you know, like I said, a snowball effect. We put this off, and then, you know, it turns into something bigger and something bigger. With this, with your motion that you bring, Chairman Apple, I mean, it talks about, you know, even how you asked for Mr. Roos to immediately begin a complete inventory. I think in order to be transparent and to ensure that there, you know, we can't just, I don't feel like we should just have one person to do an inventory. I think we should have one member from the parks, one member from our property and supply, and then the neutral person is Mr. Roos. Those three to work together to ensure that there's accountability fair on both sides for this. Councilwoman Sears and then Councilwoman Tapia.
I think we need to hear from people, you know, because you guys want to settle it tonight, and we can't be just saying 2 minutes, you know. We need to discuss what's going on here. And I'd like to give the floor to Mary.
I just want to ask that if you vote on information that you don't have, if you make an uninformed vote, and it turns out that you vote with like incorrect information, then what's going to be the consequence for that? Because, I mean that you want to suspend the charter based on information that you don't have. And I said, Garfield still said, that Mason said that they were not bad audits. And then he's saying they are bad audits. And so you want to run a vote on information that you don't have, and you're not giving us an opportunity to provide that information so you can make an informed decision. So if you make a decision and the information is, you don't have all of it, then what's the, what happens? Because you're all of this work that we've done, and I was elected too, and then we elected you. So we're making good decisions. And so that's my question.
Point of order.
If you make a decision and you don't have all the facts, and it turns out that you're making a decision based on facts you don't have, then how do you fix it?
Thank you. Councilwoman Whitehorse.
I forgot what I was going to say. No, I'm just kidding. I think I did talk to our Parks Board member, and he is the crazy guy, Norman, that said he wanted a lawyer, because he's just like that. But he did give me copies of the audits because I asked for them. 15 and 16 were bad because it wasn't disallowed costs or anything, but there was findings for inventory controls and internal controls. And there is, he also did have a problem with branding the buffalo, but that's neither here nor there. But I think that if we are going to suspend this charter, we need to put a timeline on it, because we don't want to just suspend something and leave it indefinite. And I agree with the president when he said that there should be more than one person doing the inventory of what the program has. And I think that there does need to be seriously somebody working with the director on setting up the internal controls, because in the 2015 audit there was a question over 180 something buffalo. And that's from our herd, you know? That's the tribe's herd. And we use those buffalo to feed our people and everything else. So I agree that it probably does need to be suspended, and that because they do need some help. And I'm glad that they did do all the work that they did, you know, but we have to fix things now instead of just letting them go. And I agree with Craig, you know, it seems kind of crazy because whenever some committees bring things, we question them, and whenever some committees bring other things, we don't question them. And Davey's trying to cut me off, so after this, I'll probably run a motion to remove him. Hey, no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But I do think there needs to be a timeline, seriously, and there does need to be more than one person doing the inventory. So if you could put that in your motion, I'd support it.
You're the motion maker, you wanna add that to your motion? Can you use your?
Yes. Yeah, same as housing. We're not taking away the charter, we're suspending it and to fix it, and it will go to the same as housing. Everything's the same as housing.
So you want to suspend it for, what's your time frame?
60 days.
60 days, okay, and then do you also want to implement, the two other individuals to help with the inventory?
For the property and supply, and
one of the
Our
parks board?
CEO.
the CEO,
The CEO of the Parks Board?
yeah,
Or the director, Mr. Little White Man?
Mr. Little White Man.
No, we're just, Ms. Tapia, we're just adding them to balance out the inventory, to ensure we have accountability from both sides. Since we're talking about missing buffalo, just to ensure that we have, there's no more finger pointing. Do I have a second for his motion? I got a second by Councilwoman Tapia. I'm gonna run it. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
No.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha,
Jackie Sears,
Here.
Vincent Tulance,
No,
Craig Dillon,
I'm conflicted. Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentina Merdanian,
I still have issues with that further be ordained with the individuals and adding, and I raised my hand to ask for some changes, but if you're gonna ask me to vote on this, then I'll say yes.
Bo Little White Man,
Not voting.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
No.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald, Makina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio,
Yes.
Twelve yes, 5 no, 1 not voting, motion carried. Also, so like we did with the housing, who are they gonna report to if they don't have a board? Oh, land committee, okay, all right, thank you. Next, item, please.
The next one is ordinance of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council amending ordinance 1524, which is entitled Ordinance of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council recommending implementation of Indian preference guidelines for leasing of farm pasture lands under the Agricultural Department, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Pine Ridge Reservation. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe was organized in accordance with Section 16 of the 1934 Indian Reorganization Act by adopting a federally approved constitution and bylaws. And whereas the constitution and bylaws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe vest the tribal council with authority in Article 4, Section 1M to protect and preserve the property wildlife, and natural resources of the tribe, and to regulate the conduct of trade and the use of disposition of property upon the reservation. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land and Natural Resource Committee did meet on the 18th day of March 2019 and recommended that Ordinance 1524, implementation of Indian Preference Guidelines, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Pine Ridge Agency, be amended, and now therefore be ordained that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council, based upon the recommendation of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land and Natural Resource Committee, does approve the amendments to Ordinance 1524, Indian Preference Guidelines for farm pastures leases under the Agricultural Department, BIA, Pine Ridge Reservation, which shall read as follows. An Oglala Sioux tribal member has preference over a non-member or a non-Indian on farm pasture leases. However, the Oglala Sioux tribal member must meet the highest bid submitted, and once the bid is met, Indian preference shall be applicable. Preference bids. Adult enrolled members of the Oglala Sioux tribe who qualify under the Indian preference shall not be required to submit a sealed bid, but shall have the privilege of meeting the highest sealed bid by submitting their written preference bid to the allocation secretary within 5 working days after the sealed bid opening. In the event there are 2 or more eligible Indian bidders for a particular advertised unit, an oral auction shall be held to determine the successful bidder. The oral auction must be held within 7 days of the preference bids are received by the allocation secretary. Number 3, all bidders must present proof of ownership of livestock by brand or bill of sale for all livestock. The leasee shall submit a conservation plan when the farm pasture lease is used primarily for livestock. 5, an individual who requests a farm pasture lease must possess and prove that he has and will maintain 100% ownership of all livestock that he or she intends to place on the lease. Indian preference will be recognized if the Oglala Sioux tribe is 51% or more owner of the land lease. Number 7, any and all bonds will be waived for Oglala Sioux tribal members on farm pasture leases on lands that are 51% owned by Oglala Sioux tribe. However, bonds shall not be waived for non-members of the Oglala Sioux tribe. If it is determined that any individual allows livestock other than his own on the farm pasture lease, their farm pasture lease shall be immediately forfeited by written notification of such violation by a letter from the allocation secretary. Be it further ordained that the ordinance shall become effective immediately and shall apply to any sealed bid received after the effective date of this ordinance. I make a motion to approve this.
I got a motion by Councilman Apples, second by Councilwoman Tapio. Councilman Wilson.
Needs to be a correction in there. Instead of the allocation secretary, it needs to go to the realty office because the allocation secretary doesn't oversee farm pastures, the realty office does. So it needs to probably go to realty
Make
secretary.
that change.
Make that correction, okay. Councilwoman Whitehorse?
I'm not racist, for reals, but I'm gonna sound racist right now. Our family owns 100 and something acres out in No Flesh. And my uncles are trying to use it to run cattle. So we all signed a paper that said, don't advertise this. And honestly, they haven't advertised it for 30 years. but it's been given to the same leaser for 30 years. Even though we all signed papers to give my uncles the authority to put their cattle there. They can't use it. That's not fair. How do we fix that? The other guy is enrolled, like maybe 2% or something. And that's not fair. How do we protect those people? How do we protect our small operators who have like 40, 50 cows just starting out? Last year, remember whenever the leases were going out in Kyle, there was a kid, well, I guess not really a kid, but younger than me. He made a big old loan to get to lease some land, buy some cows to start, and he didn't get the lease, and it was his relative's land. That's not fair to them either. How do we protect our people? I mean, I know that our tribal members are, whether they're 132nd or 4/4, but how do we protect the people who actually own the land? How do we allow them to use their land when we sign documents and they're still not allowed to use them? There needs to be some kind of protection here for them. And Indian preference is important, but if they're not actually getting preference, or if you're only giving preference to enrolled no matter what, we just disenroll the guy today. So he could enroll in Rosebud for land management because he lost his lease over here. What does that tell you? We need to protect our people, our small operators. We need to provide them the opportunities instead of just protecting enrollment. So I'm not racist, but I know I'm really sounding racist right now. But there has to be some type of protection built in here, because just saying Indian preference for tribal enrolled doesn't help the small guy at all, because they still don't have the money to lease the big areas of land.
Councilwoman Whitehorse, that was excellent points. What would you propose to, do you propose a solution to implement into that? Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston?
You know, I read the resolution coming from Land Committee, or ordinance. And you know, I want to speak on behalf of the landowners, because I'm a landowner. And I have, was just inherited a big piece of land, actually just right here in Bennett County, just right out north of Batesland. And that land was always leased by a non-member, but it stayed within that family, generation after generation after generation. And because there was only 3 landowners, which was my mother, her sister, and her brother, it was a big piece of land. So they owned it. And as they passed on, their children own it now. So when the land buyback came along, you know, we told each other we're not going to sell that land to the tribe. We wanted to keep it within our family. But I was reading here, and I was glad that that language was put in there. You have to at least have, the tribe has to at least have 51% ownership of that land before you can even say that an Indian rancher or whatever could lease that land. So I'm glad that part was put in there, Land Committee. I'm glad you put that in there, because I don't want to be forced. I have nothing against the Indian ranchers. I have nothing against that. But you got to understand that there's landowners out there that have pieces of land that been in their generations of generations being leased by a non-member rancher. They know that non-rancher. So I'm going to have to speak on behalf of the landowners. I don't want it to be caught up to where we have to go this way. And I'm glad you're going to keep that bid process where they're going to have to be bid as high as that other person. So I'm just going to say that as a landowner, you know, And I'm not the only landowner in this circle, you know, I'm sure some of you are landowners too. So I'm just pointing those out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston. Councilwoman Merdanian.
I'm going to pass it on to Chauncey to add the addition to this resolution so it gives the protection of our people, because this was also part of our discussion in Land Committee.
Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When we was building this lot, it took us 2 years to even bring it this far. We had people like Cora's uncle in mind when we was building that, because the land is taken up and he's worked for 30 years to try to get something and he can't. So I think just in number 1 of the therefore be it ordained, if you just maybe put a clause in there that says unless the member owns, after it says must meet the highest bid, once the bid is met, Indian preference will be applicable. Maybe you could put unless the member owns less than 50 head, he may match the minimum bid. So that gives, so that someone like Cora's uncle don't have to match somebody that has 1,000 head, you know, because he can't pay the same amount as the guy that has, give him some leeway of getting that piece of property, and he ain't gonna have to go in there and outbid the guy with 500 head or whatever. So I think just the simple on the back side of it, unless the member owns less than 50 head, he may match the minimum allocation, or I don't know what you call it. Yeah, the minimum amount. Hold on, I can explain that. The difference too. Range units are bid out by the AUM, which is Animal Unit Month, and farm pastures are bid out by the acre. That's the difference. So, and then there are smaller tracts. Realty handles the farm pasture, and the range unit system is handled by land operations. If that helps clarify anybody.
Can you use your mic, Councilwoman?
Just further clarification, because this has been something that's been ongoing. We've looked at maps, we're looking at the small operator. This is who we had in mind in trying to draft this ordinance, is for the protection of those small operators, and looking at our tribal membership who have been struggling to get leases. Now with the farm pasture, what we're finding is that it's so checkerboard, and you have a farm pasture in the middle of a grazing unit. And so it creates conflict between the two individuals leasing those two sections of land. And so there's a lot that goes into this, a lot of history, in how we're trying to really look after our people and the small operators. And so with that, you know, that's why we put the 51% ownership by the tribe. That's why we put that they would immediately forfeit if they violated this ordinance. So, you know, once they, you know, are given this, and if they mess up, they violate it, then they forfeit that lease. So again, you know, there's a lot of history, and with the grazing code, that's when we look at the pastures for grazing and taking in the cattle, those bigger units.
Thank you. Councilman Greenwald.
Chancey, so as far as the individual owner, like what Cora was talking about, currently right now they have the option of opting out, right, where the tribe nor the BIA manages their lease. They could do that on their own. They could negotiate that with, okay, so for their instance, she's talking about they did opt out, and for some reason the paperwork either through the tribal land office up to the BIA wasn't passed through or didn't get acknowledged, so it got leased out again anyways. Then that sticks you into a 5-year lease or a 2-year lease, or what are they? 5-year, yeah. So then they're stuck again for 5 more years. What options do they have to come back and say, look, I signed this paperwork opting out, but you guys still leased my land out?
Councilman Wilson.
I'd have to look at the grazing ordinance, but I think the way it reads is, I think by April 15th of a given year, you have you have to let the current leasee, I think the way the ordinance reads, you have to give them 6 months notice that you're taking your land out. So I think it's April 15th or April 20th or something like that of that year. But I'm not, don't quote me on it, but I think it's something like that.
Okay, so do we have all the amendments to your resolution? All the corrections? I do have a motion by Councilman Apple, second by Councilwoman Tapio. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentino Merdanian, Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nakina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio,
Yes.
18 yes, unanimous, motion carried. Next item, please, Councilman Apple.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Ordinance of the Oglala Sioux Tribe mandating that no residence shall be built or placed upon areas designated as floodplains upon Pine Ridge Reservation tribal lands. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. 5123, and under Article 3 of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Constitution. The Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land and Natural Resource Committee is a standing committee of the Oglala Sioux Tribe who did meet with a quorum present at the Justice Center in the Oglala Sioux Tribal Courthouse on the 18th day of March 2019, and did adopt this ordinance for presentation to the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council for their action. And whereas the recent storm upon the Pine Ridge Reservation again brought to the attention of the Oglala Sioux Tribe the problems the Oyate encounter who live in areas that are less accessible when severe weather conditions occur upon the Pine Ridge Reservation. And whereas those individuals who reside in floodplains upon the Pine Ridge Reservation are highly suitable to floodwaters destroying their possessions and homes. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe believes to help alleviate the problems that occur when flooding affects homes located in floodplains, does recommend that the Oglala Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land Office, and the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land and Natural Resource Committee shall not approve home site leases for any residents which would be located in floodplains located on tribal lands. Now therefore be it ordained that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council, based upon the recommendations of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land and Natural Resource Committee, does hereby direct that the Oglala Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land Office, and the Oglala Sioux Tribe Land and Natural Resource Committee shall not proceed to approve any application for home site lease which is located in a floodplain upon tribal land. Make a motion for this.
I got a motion, second by Councilwoman Tapio. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller, James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse, Valentino Merdanian, Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald, Nakina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio,
Yes.
16 yes, 2 not voting, motion carried. Councilwoman Merdania?
Just for clarification in regards to this ordinance, we cannot retrocede this law for those who do exist and reside within the floodplain. So with that, just for clarification, because I'm already getting questions, because people do reside in those areas. So we cannot retrocede, it's anything moving forward.
Correct, thank you for that clarification, Councilwoman Merdania. Hachigua. Do you have
What's that, sir?
Next item, ask the secretary to read the resolution, please.
Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Council adding Lydia Bearkiller to the Economic and Business Development Committee. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe was organized under Section 16 of the 1934 Indian Reorganization Act by adopting a federally approved constitution and bylaws. And whereas the Tribal Council conducts business using a variety of standing committees for which members are normally selected at the beginning of the term of government. And whereas since the committee rosters were made, Ms. Lydia Bearkiller, Pass Creek District, has decided to serve on the Economic and Business Development Committee. And whereas on the 22nd day of March, the Economic and Business Development Committee met in the regular meeting with the quorum present and voted to approve this resolution and forward to the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council has considered the matter and desires to take recommended action. Now therefore be it resolved that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council hereby adds Ms. Lydia Bearkiller to the membership of the Economic and Business Development Committee. Certification.
Got a motion to approve, second by Councilwoman Tapio. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk?
Yes.
Garfield Apple? Yes. Glenn Gibbons?
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller?
Yes.
James Cross? Sonia Little Hawk Weston?
Ha.
Jackie Sears? Vincent Tulance?
Yes.
Craig Dillon?
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse?
Yes.
Valentina Merdanian? Ryan Jumping Eagle? Oh, sorry. He's excused. Bo Little White Man?
Yes.
Chancey Wilson?
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow?
Oh,
Randy Laisbad?
yes.
Richard Greenwald? Yes. Nakina Mills? Robin Tapio?
No.
$16 yes, 2 no, motion carried. Okay, moving into the EB&D.
Tribal Transportation Improvement Plan.
Tribal Transportation Improvement Plan.
Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe approving the fiscal year 2019 Tribal Transportation Improvement Program Plan, TTIP, for the Oglala Sioux Tribe submitted by the Oglala Sioux Tribe Department of Transportation. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation is federally recognized Indian tribe organized pursuant to the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934 and all pertinent amendments thereof, And whereas the tribal constitution authorizes the tribal council in Article 4, Section 1A to advise and negotiate with the federal government on behalf of the tribe. F, to manage all economic affairs and enterprises of the tribe. In Section 1G, to appropriate for public purposes of the tribe. In Section 1G, to appropriate for public purposes of the tribe in any available tribal council funds. And Section 1W, to adopt laws protecting and promoting the health and general welfare of the Oglala Sioux tribe and its membership. And whereas the direct funding agreement between the Oglala Sioux Tribe Department of Transportation, OST DOT, and the Federal Highway Administration specifies that the tribe will submit an updated or annual tribal transportation improvement program. And whereas the OST DOT has reviewed the current conditions and needs of all of the Indian Reservation roads on the Pine Ridge Reservation and determined that the fiscal year 2019 TTIP is valid and best suits the needs of residents of the reservation. And whereas the submittal of the TTIP be accompanied by an authorizing resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council. And whereas on the 15th day of March 2019, the Economic and Business Development Committee of the Tribal Council met and voted to approve the attached TTIP and forward it to the full Tribal Council for final approval. And whereas the Tribal Council has considered the matter and determined that it is the best interest of the tribe to approve the attached TTIP. Now therefore be it resolved that the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe does hereby approve the attached Oglala Sioux Tribe Department of Transportation Fiscal Year 2019 Tribal Transportation Improvement Plan certification.
I have a motion. Who was the second? I'm sorry, Robin? Okay, and do you have a question or comment?
A few years back, they told us that housing roads couldn't be put on the tip, so we didn't really bother with it. But Lake Creek District doesn't have anything on this tip, and I think that we at least deserve to have our north housing road paved. That's a whole community up there that does not have a paved road. So I'm asking the motion maker if we can put north housing into the tribal inventory plan. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Tapio?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, in regards to what Ms. Whitehorse just said, excuse me, we need to add the old Sundance Ground Road because we have a lot of trailers out there. And I did call Dave Calley right after this happened, and I asked him, and he told me that they had, in each community, they had like hearings, he called it, and at that time you could come and make your recommendations for whatever roads you wanted to put on this, the inventory, I guess, to be considered. But he said that ours wasn't on there either, but that we could amend it and add it later. So with that said, I would like to put the what is it called, Rich, out there? The old Sundance Ground roads? Yeah, see if we could put that, because remember, they put all those trailers out there, and it's just a total mess, a washout out there. So I'd like to add that road to the plan too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Tapio, and also to the motion maker. I mean, to Ms. Sears, Mr. Tulance, and Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston, I would also, advocate to add Wolf Creek housing on there. It's on there? Okay. 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 Okay, Councilwoman Bearkiller?
Okay, we were requesting to, put the Allen North housing on there too. There is, we have a lot of units out there, and like right now, you know, it's I think we need to put, asphalt, concrete, or something in there for that whole unit out there, the whole village out there. There never was on there, and I think if we're gonna add, I think we need to add that, village in there too, the Allen North housing. James? So if we could have the motion maker in a second, add that on there too?
I'm okay with it, everybody.
Matt Manderson Housing?
That's what I was gonna say, Manderson Housing? Oh, it is? All right.
If you look on the back page of the.
Whitehurst Creek, that's all.
Councilman Cross?
The one thing when they have those public hearings, you guys get your community members to come because they fill out this form and it's the condition of the roads, where it's located, you know, the miles, whatnot. So make sure your community members do attend those meetings. That's the only way we got this road paved, because I went to every public hearing and I brought pictures and statements from the community here. So you have to attend those meetings. He has them like quarterly, and I think this week his engineers are coming down. So you can ask Dave if he's gonna have a meeting at his office this week. It's publicized, so you'll know.
Also add,
Thank you.
Porcupine, add, Birdhead Creek.
It's not even a road.
It will be. No, it is a road and there's quite a few families.
Councilman, that's the one when you're first coming up to the left, out of Porcupine, right?
To my house.
Right.
To the right.
Okay.
Motion.
Okay, got a motion. Councilman Gibbons?
On BI 33, as it comes from the north of Manderson, it turns and goes to the south. It turns into Whitehorse Creek Road, and a lot of residents live on that road, and then it turns into Pepper Creek after that. And it's been gravelled. It was paved at one time.
Councilman Gibbons, I had BIA 33, Manderson to US 18, Holy Rosary. BIA 3328.
But 33, 2 Red Cloud?
Oh, it's on there.
Making sure.
I got a motion and a second. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk?
You know, everybody's asking to put on roads up there. My gosh. I mean, also, before I vote on this, I would like to get Georgetown and Eagle Nest area identify BIA Jeep roads, that they're identified as Jeep roads, and there certainly are Jeep roads, and that's my road. And Eagle Nest has never got too much of anything, so I'm going to ask to put Georgetown and community in Wombly, north of Wombly, close to Highway 73. And with that in there, I would vote to vote yes.
The motion maker did add that in there, Councilman Yellowhawk?
Yes.
Yes.
Continue, Madam Secretary.
Garfield Apple?
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulance,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentino Merdanian, Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chauncey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh,
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwell,
Yes.
Nikina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio,
18 yes, unanimous, motion carried. Councilman Goodrow?
Also too, I know in the morning or tonight after this session here, we're gonna get calls from the district and they say, why not, you didn't put this area on. So I think we should also give the opportunity for the districts to respond with areas also to the list that the resolution that was just passed.
Councilwoman Whitehorse?
I just sent Dave Kelly an email and asked him to tell us when those meetings are, the quarterly meetings, so that way we can take our concerns there as well.
Okay, next item. The Energy Mineral Project.
Resolution of the Executive Committee of the Oglala Sioux Tribe providing authorization for the submissions of the 2019 Energy and Mineral Development Project, EMDP, proposal to the U.S. Department of the Interior, Assistant Secretary, Indian Affairs Division, Energy and Mineral Development, DEMD, to fund resource assessments on the reservation. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with the Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas Article 13, Section 6 of the Tribal Constitution empowers the Executive Committee to act on behalf of the Tribal Council when the Tribal Council is not in session and to be in charge of all routine matters that arise during such recess, including the administration of the land provisions of the Constitution and such other matters as they may be delegated to it by Tribal Council. And whereas the committee is aware of that the reservation has a number of natural resources and undersigned the importance of the analyzing such resources in order to value and grade the feasibility of developing each resource. And whereas the Executive Committee deems it necessary to assess the value and feasibility of developing sand and gravel resource to benefit the members and stakeholders of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe is seeking to assess the feasibility of mining sand and gravel on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, primarily for the use in development of roads, pathways on the reservation. The following grant proposal is being submitted to the DEMD on behalf of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. Sand and Gravel Resource Exploration Project, additional sites. Whereas Oglala Sioux Tribe is willing to consider developing any potential energy and mineral resource discovered, and whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe will consider public release of non-proprietary data or reports obtained by EMDP project. And now therefore be it resolved that the Executive Committee of the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby authorizes submission of the grant proposal in order to perform above mentioned studies, and be it finally resolved that the Executive Committee of the Oglala Sioux Tribe approves President to take all actions necessary to fulfill the mandates of this resolution certification.
Motion with the changes to Oglala Sioux Tribe. So Sandra can answer any questions too.
Councilwoman Sears.
Yeah, I just, on the second to the last whereas, when this was being introduced, I thought it was just for like sand and gravel. But that one, that last, second to the last whereas kind of, it says Oglala Sioux Tribe is willing to consider developing any potential energy and mineral resources discovered. So, you know, if that could be taken out and just focus on the sand and gravel, I think I would support it.
I concur. I mean, because that leaves it open to too many things. One of them being zeolite, and I know a lot of the communities oppose that. So I would also recommend that we stick to sand or gravel. Councilwoman Merdanian?
That was just, yeah, my same concern. Also, knowing that there has been studies in the past, and we also know that Bureau of Indian Affairs keeps track of our minerals. Do we really need to pay? Is this coming? Are we paying for this study out of this grant to have this come in and do this? I mean, I guess I'm just saying, you know, the resources are already, I mean, the materials are already available. It's just how we choose to compile it.
I agree. Sonia, a little hot question. Did you have something, Councilwoman?
What was that?
Did you have something? You raised your hand at the same time.
No, I think I was just looking at the resolution, and I know this came in front of us at the Monday special EB&D meeting that was just right before the storm hit. But I think it's KLJ that works with the Transportation Department is applying for a grant that's going to be able to go out and do the feasibility study on where we can get sand and gravel. Sand and gravel. So I think that that was their main focus, because right now today we all get on the Transportation Department about gravel. And so right now we have no gravel pits, and they want to be able to go out and do that so they could start looking for sand and gravel for all 9 districts. So that was the grant that I think KLJ was going to be applying for to do that study.
So to the motion maker, are we able to change mineral to just keep it sand and gravel, since that's what this is about? Yes. Okay. So with those corrections, then I do have.
That's just taking out whereas number 7, right?
Right. Sorry, Councilwoman Mills.
Just kept clarification. Does this have to go through that grants process?
Motion maker said he doesn't think so. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
One of our biggest concerns, I think, is that we need gravel. And especially now, because of the storm that just hit, and all these roads are going to be, they're going to need to be graveled. You know, and I really hate to hinder anything. You know, anything that the tribe can do, we need to try to get it done so we can give them the opportunity to move forward on this grant, and that we can bring them in so they can start looking around the reservation. You know, they understand that all they're doing is a feasibility study to look for sand and gravel for our, to do the graveling around the reservation.
Thank you. Councilwoman Tapia?
No comment.
Councilman Givens?
Thank you, Chair. This is just to assess where there may be sand and gravel at, and it's only sand and gravel. We haven't even begun to speak about once we've left the gravel pit, what that's going to look like. So this is only an assessment to assess where there's gravel. That's wonderful.
Councilwoman Whitehorse?
Actually, it's just to apply for a grant to assess. So, that's it. It's not even that far yet.
Okay, so yeah, and that's just why we took out the seventh whereas, because it's already saying we're considering to develop mineral resources. So I do have a motion by Councilman Cross, second by Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston with those amendments, changing the executive committee to the Oglala Sioux Tribe, removing whereas number 7 from minerals to sand and gravel. Secretary, call for the vote.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulance, Craig Dillon, Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentina Merdanian, Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chauncey Wilson, Philip Goodcrow, Randy Laysbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Makina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio,
Yes.
17 yes, 1 not voting, motion carried. Okay, we have one from Finance Committee.
We have 3.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the first one, would you like to read the first one?
Actually, we simplified it and the attorney sent 1 for 2 of these.
Okay.
So I'll just read it because they're both pertaining to the same pot of money.
Okay.
Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe amending resolution number, that's supposed to be 1950, not 1950 XB, to redesignate wind energy funds previously set aside for future district projects for discretionary activities by tribal council representatives and funding for the industrial hemp plan, including establishing the Oglala Sioux Tribal Hemp Regulatory Commission, and to reaffirm the use of funds. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribe is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. The Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas pursuant to the Constitution and bylaws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council exercises legislative powers to enact and promulgate resolutions and ordinances. And whereas Article 4, Section 1F, 1K, 1M, 1W empower the Tribal Council to manage the economic affairs of the tribe, protect and preserve the property of the tribe, adopt laws governing the conduct of the persons on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and adopt laws protecting and promoting the health and general welfare of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and its membership. And whereas Article 4, Section 1T of the Constitution gives the Tribal Council the power to delegate its enumerated powers to subordinate boards or officers, reserving the right to review their actions taken by virtue of such delegated power. And whereas the Finance Committee is a standing committee of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council and has been delegated the power to oversee matters related to finances on behalf of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council, including budgetary matters. And whereas the Executive Committee adopted Resolution Number 1950, which set aside funds for energy assistance, fishing projects, and future district projects from unobligated funds from the wind energy project. And this action was affirmed by the Tribal Council at a regular Tribal Council meeting on February 26, 2019. And whereas on March 17, 2019, by motion and vote, the Tribal Council approved setting aside $5,000 per Tribal Council representative for emergency relief assistance due to Winter Storm Omer from the wind energy funds previously set aside for future district projects. And whereas on March 21st, 2019, by motion and vote, the Finance Committee approved a motion to amend Resolution Number 1950 in order to redesignate wind energy funds previously set aside for future district projects to provide for $5,000 per Tribal Council representative to be used at their discretion for activities. And whereas on March 21st, 2019, by motion and vote, the Finance Committee approved a motion to amend Resolution Number 1950 in order to redesignate wind energy funds previously set aside for future district projects to provide for $150,000 to be set aside for the use in implementing the Industrial Hemp Plan, including establishing the Oglala Sioux Tribal Hemp Regulatory Commission. And whereas the Tribal Council agrees with the foregoing recommendation of the Finance Committee and believes it is in the best interest of the tribe to amend Resolution Number 1950 in order to redesignate the wind energy funds. Now therefore be it resolved, the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby amends Resolution Number 1950 in order to set aside $5,000 per Tribal Council representative, totaling $105,000 to be utilized at their discretion for activities, and for $150,000, no we didn't, not yet, to be set aside for implementation of the Industrial Hemp Plan, including establishing the Oglala Sioux Tribal Hemp Regulatory Commission. And both items shall be taken out of the wind energy funds previously set aside with the tribe for future district projects. Be it further resolved that the previously unobligated wind energy funds of approximately $754,529.61 shall now be utilized as follows. And some of these we've already done, but $10,000 per Tribal Council representative, totaling $210,000 to be utilized for energy assistance. That was Resolution 1950. And $60,000 for fishing projects under Resolution 1950. And $5,000 per Tribal Council representative, totaling $105,000 to be utilized for emergency relief due to Winter Storm Omer, and that was by Tribal Council motion on March 17th, 2019. $5,000 per Tribal Council representative, totaling $105,000 to use at their discretion for activities, and $150,000 to be set aside for implementation of the Industrial Hemp Plan, including establishing the Oglala Sioux Tribal Hemp Regulatory Commission, and the remainder, which is $124,529.61 to be set aside with the tribe for future district projects. Motion to approve.
I got a motion by Councilwoman Whitehorse, second by Councilwoman Bearkiller. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulent,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentina Mardanian,
Yeah.
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chauncey Wilson, Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laisbad,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nikina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio,
Yes. I don't know about some of them numbers.
17 yes, 1 no, motion carried. Next item, Councilwoman Whitehorse.
Sorry, that took care of 2 items.
Correct.
That combined them. So the last thing that we have is emergency management. Oh no, where'd he go? He left. Not for the activities. Okay, since he's not here, we'll yield the floor to HHS. Hey, no.
Thanks, everybody.
Steve, you have 2 minutes.
2
No, I'm
minutes.
just kidding.
My name is Steve Wilson. I'm a OST emergency manager. I guess a quick update of kind of where we're at. I guess getting back to, I know we updated HHS committee yesterday, and but not everybody was there from council. So, geez, where to start? There's so much that went on. Right now, we'll jump right into kind of the utilities. You know, big concern was water. We had a water break out there that I think put quite a few communities without for a bit. I think the guys got that all squared away, and we're back. I think all communities are back up to having water in their systems. I think we have some issues with sewer line up there in Wambley right now. Crews are on that. They should have that worked on and back up going tomorrow. Talking with the roads guys and crews out there right now, they're actually working down in American Horse Creek today, trying to get some of those ruts pushed out, trying to get some of that mud moved around so it can start drying up, and also getting some of the backhoes and excavators out to drain out some of these ponds that we got from all the flooding so things can dry up throughout our communities. I think the crew, we have a dozer heading up for Wambley tomorrow. We're going to start working in the Heisel area to start pushing that stuff out with dozers. I think our volunteer stuff that we got going on in our donations, we just received 16 pallets of water from Santee Sioux Nation this evening. The guys are actually working right now to get that unpacked and start getting that out to our communities and our CAP offices starting tomorrow. I know that in the middle of a declaration that we have for these storms and emergencies, I think we start off strong, and once we start getting things open back up, we have to resume back into daily operations to service our communities and our people. We start losing resources when we do that, and I think we need to kind of keep focused on getting back out there in those areas that aren't that haven't had any checks on them. Today we lost. We didn't lose. I guess we decided that since a lot of our water is draining out in flood stages are kind of minimal right now for some of these areas that we took the Task Force 1 guys and demobbed them out. We had a dam failure alert up in, I guess, north of us in Lake Quinn, I think it was up there. So those guys dispatched up there. We also had a volunteer group in here, search and rescue crew, that demobbed back. They come down, volunteer some time, and helped us out. So they actually had to go back home too as well. You know, so a lot of that danger, I think we are past some of those bad flood stage areas right now with the White Clay Dam, Oglala Dam. We're still monitoring all of that. Now we're kind of seeing a lot of the damage that's left from the flooding. We got a lot of infrastructure that's tore up, roads washed out, culverts, things like that. So we got a lot going on right now. So talking with FEMA, we're requesting the technical assistance for them to send a guy up tomorrow, and we'll start talking about, you know, the next stages. What kind of damages we have, what kind of merit we have for an application. So, you know, there's talk of IT grants, there's other assistance, USDA stuff, all of that we're looking into, and then seeing if we can get assistance any way we can for, you know, for ranchers and for individual public assistance, everything. So we've been through this process before. We're familiar with it. So you know, if you guys got any questions offline, it's, you know, ask them, call, whatever. We can walk you through it. I think there were some questions on, you know, some of the resources that we're thinking about getting in. I think National Guard was one of them. National Guard is expensive. Somebody's got to pay that bill. And, you know, I think that those discussions are way above my pay grade. So, so if that's something that you guys want to look at doing, I think that has to be done with our president's office and our council and, you know, probably the governor's office. So, you know, from what I'm told, they're 2 to 3 times more expensive than your regular contractor. So, I mean, there's a lot of talk about where's the National Guard, you know, and why aren't they here? Simple as, I mean, somebody's got to pay that bill.
Mr. Wilson, do we know how much that bill is?
It could, it's, you know, for the water buffaloes, we'll have to talk to them. For Task Force 1 to come in, you know, that's some stuff that I redirected from my budget to pay for. You know, when it comes to life-saving resources, we're not gonna skimp on it. We're not gonna go cheap. I think we had the best in the state, and I think we required it, and we used it. And so when it comes to state resources, somebody has to pay for it. So, so like I said, discussion is with you guys in the governor's office to, you know, see if there's an option there to use them. So, I guess as far as any other updates, I mean, you know, we try to get that stuff put out on our website.
Mr. Wilson, but we don't actually have a number though? I mean, how do we get the number of how much it's gonna cost for?
Oh, for them to come in and.
For the National Guard services?
Yeah, well, they got quotes for equipment, they got quotes for man hours. You know, and I've been working with the state up there. I have some of those quotes on email, and I'll get those out to you guys in a mass email. It's not cheap. You know, an hourly, weekly, monthly. It's expensive.
Okay, Councilwoman, little hot question.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday when we met in Kyle, we also had Mr. Dave Flute there from the governor's office, and he did make leadership aware that we needed to work through Steve in order to recoup any kind of, if anything, we need to work with him. So I think as leadership, he did remind us of that we would have to work with Steve, because Steve would be the person that would be communicating with the governor's office. So I think President, Mr. Flute did mention that to us yesterday. He also mentioned that the National Guard was sent down here, but only to set up the water buffaloes to help people with water. He said it wasn't to like really go in and evacuate people or even to fix bridges or culverts. They were not told to do any of that. So he did make us aware of that yesterday. But he did stress that we had to work with Steve to document, make sure everything was documented, because the documentation used to be with him in order for him to get all of that back from the state. So I wanted just to say that, but I do know Steve is, funds are very limited, and I do know that, he told us yesterday, he didn't have enough manpower to do everything that needed to get done across the reservation. So I really think that we need to do whatever we can and to help him with that, with the budget or whatever we need to do to help him so that he's able to do what needs to get done through the emergency management. So that's just my input.
I think as far as what you're requesting for that type of estimate, I think we need to know exactly what we want, as far as roads, what kind of condition, if it's, heavy equipment, whether it's, survey, whatever, we need to know that, I guess, what we're looking for. So we'd have to work with our DOT guys and, and council to figure out what exactly you want from National Guard.
Councilwoman Medanian, you made that motion for me to work with Steve to get the National Guard. Maybe can you emphasize and answer that question for him? On like what exactly services we were looking for from them?
Sure. I understand that, yes, there is a cost associated with it, but I know that, this should be a priority, and they do have the manpower and the equipment to get what is needed done with the culverts and the roads, the off-roads, the dirt roads, and to build up those roads and so forth. And with that being said, I think we need to make that a priority and do the fundraising necessary to meet whatever that cost is going to be. This is important to our people, and I think we talk about access, we talk about medical emergencies. The other thing is did we even approach the Air Force Base, Ellsworth Air Force Base, in regards to maybe, asking for other assistance from them? As I mentioned in our planning meeting on Saturday, that, I was told and I was reminded again and again that the military budget is the largest budget in this country. And we need to be looking at that and seeing how we can move forward in addressing these issues, because right now we just keep putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It's not going to go away. And if we can make this a priority and find the resources, we can get it done with within a reasonable amount of time and with the expertise and the manpower that can get it done. Because we heard the reports of old equipment, the reports of breaking down and things needing to be repaired and limited manpower. So, I think this is important that we try to find the resources to bring in the National Guard and work with the governor. Maybe she'll give us, a waiver or something to that effect. I mean, like I said, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Thank you. Councilwoman Whitehorse.
I really hate being the bad guy. But do you have a number of how much has been spent already?
Well, for our budget, I mean, we were given $250,000 to start with, for the year to make that, and we're still in the middle of recovering from one disaster, so we're trying to spread that budget across some of that. We also have the IT grant stuff that's going, but there's only certain things that we can do with that as well. So I mean, it's with this one, started this one, we're burning some money right now. And I think we're down around 150 around there right now. We got volunteers going nonstop around the clock. Wages, getting people out, and resources, rentals. Just trying to get these little track UTVs that we need to get out there and look at these areas. I mean, just the rentals of those things and the fuel costs. It's adding up quick. I got a number of 600,000 on there for a budget. It just as well be 2 million. I mean, it's going to get expensive. It's going to be a long time to recover from this. We're, like I said, we're still in the middle of trying to recover from the last one. you know, and I think, you know, this time we got our butts handed to us on this, you know. Like you can't chalk this up as any kind of a victory for our department. I mean, we got whipped on this. You know, there's a lot of snow, a lot of deep snow and water runoff, flooding. I mean, you guys seen the pictures. You know, all the stuff that's going around on social media. That's, you know, we got equipment scattered out across this reservation right now that's broke. We got to get off the hills, get back in to get it worked on. You know, all of our graders are sinking. You know, but we're still trying to push out there, get people out, and just that cost to get those back up and running and trying to get these roads back into shape is going to get expensive. So, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, that's, you know, every time I come to these committees or councils, I mean, I got nothing but bad news for you guys, you know. I mean, it's you know, just part of our job is trying to maintain and get something done, and it gets expensive.
So, the IT grant, that doesn't help with any of it? And you already applied for that, right? With, through housing, or how did you?
Yeah, for the last declaration, storm that we applied for, we got denied, and then we ended up going for the IT grant for that. And we got the IT grant for the last storm. You know, we talk about, you know, this time doing one, there's a process, you know, I think we've been through this. I think some of you council reps have been on the last administration. We talked about the process and how to do that. It's a lengthy one. People are going to get upset about whether or not they're going to get assistance, help, and in turn, I think we spent about $90,000 to get a no answer. You know, we spent a lot of money doing the assessments, doing the emergency board up. You know, we had a lot of OSB and plastic out there, but that's just the way you have to do it. You know, if anything looks like a repair job, they're not gonna pay for it because you've already repaired it. So there's a process and a way of doing things that you know, to get the assistance. And unfortunately, we have to spend money to get, you know, to that point. And you're still not guaranteed an answer, you know, a yes answer. So, you know, when you look at the IT grants, if we apply for the assistance through FEMA and we get it, you know, typically it's the $900,000 IT grant. If you get denied, it's $450,000. You know, and you know, we got the one last year, but we were lucky to get that one to start on some of the home damage. You know, and try and make that stretch. But I mean, you know, we're in tough shape right now with the damage. I mean, just looking at it, it's got our guys overwhelmed just seeing what's going on out there right now. I mean, roads completely gone. You know, gravel washed out, culverts gone. You know, and there's a lot of things that are bad right now.
Thank you, Steve. I mean, did your question get clarified there?
Yeah, but do you have the funding to pay for the repair of the equipment that's broke down all over the reservation? Or how are you planning on fixing those?
Looking at, I mean, from the, you know, I think you guys heard the report from Mr. Long today. I mean, BIA roads, they're going to get $260,000 tomorrow, and that's probably gone last year. That's gone. He doesn't have any money. He's got the most damage here. You know, when we look at all of the volunteers, the recovery work, the response work that we're doing, we still got maybe two weeks left of straight response work, getting to people. There's people that we haven't checked on yet, and trying to get that out there, getting, you know, the volunteers to keep pushing and getting food out there to people. Then you start looking at the recovery work, you know. So I mean, there's for equipment, you got motor fuels departments that has their equipment. You know, their budget's going to get sucked up pretty quick. They get out there, start repairing roads, fixing equipment. So everybody's budgets are going to get hit pretty hard.
And then it's supposed to snow on Friday.
Exactly. When we're not out of danger yet for snow, for rain.
Yeah, and Saturday.
We're going to get into spring rains. Then we're looking at tornado season, hail season.
So are you going to be working on a plan? I mean, we've been talking about a plan for 2 years, but we never really got anything.
Yeah, for mitigation plans, you know, those are things that are updated every 5 years. We got the new one coming that should be out here soon. We got the funding for the EOP. We got the funding for the Homeland Security plans, and those are right in the making of doing it. But when we have these large-scale incidents and disasters, I have to put all that aside right now and just focus. I got 3 people in my office, and they're sleeping in the office right now. We're sleeping in trucks, you know. So I mean, we don't have much time in the personnel to keep pushing those policies that we want to develop, those manuals and those procedures that we want to do. We just don't have the manpower to keep pushing forward with those. We have to stop and regroup and reconfigure and then, you know, jump through hoops and whatnot just to get through one of these storms.
Thank you, Steve. Councilwoman, did that answer any question? Oh, okay. Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston.
You know, I'm just reading the Finance Committee minutes as to why Mr. Wilson was to come in front of the council today. And it looks like they approved the emergency management expenditures from the OST General Fund at a minimum as needed for emergency disaster situations on the Pine Ridge Reservation per the emergency declaration signed by the OST president. So I guess with that being said, what are we doing for him? I want to know, as a tribal council, you know, we just got done with a bad blizzard and we all called Mr. Wilson over here to go do this, go do that, go fix that, go deliver those water, go, you know, all of us did that. So, you know, tonight he's the last one on the agenda, waiting here all day long. I want to know, what are we doing? Are we going to give him some money here so that we can allow for them to operate due to the disaster declaration? You know, I want to know, you know, what will we be doing? Because he's telling us everything he's working on. But some of you are saying, well, where's the budget? Where's this? Where's that? I mean, you guys are Finance Committee, should have had all that in place in your packet. And then this should have been all here in front of us. We just got chewed out about not having things in front of us. But I just want to say tonight, you know, what are we asking for Mr. Wilson? Are we giving him money, or are we going to help him?
I guess that's kind of my question too. I mean, he gave a report yesterday, correct? Councilwoman Sears.
Yeah, we did have a finance meeting last week, and we didn't have our treasurer there. As you know, there was people on travel in different places, and we met with Steve. He came in, and he said he didn't have any money. He was like trying to keep going. He wanted direction from us. Do we still go on, or do we cease because I got no more money? So we told him just to continue, you know, due to this declaration, and that's why we put it that way. Keep it at a minimal, though, because we don't know where the money's going to come from. We wanted our treasurer there to identify some dollars, and we wanted to bring it to council, to full council today. So that's why we're here today. We asked Steve to come, and let's stress the full council, because we need to decide this, because we couldn't stop him at that time. So we just told him, just keep it at a minimal as what you can get by with to help to keep services going. So that's why we're here today, we referred it here, so full council can deal with it and see what we're going to do with assisting him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sears. Councilwoman Whitehorse.
That was why I asked if he had a number yet. Because I understand that you couldn't stop him, and you can't still, because it's still a disaster. And he still needs to spend money. And that was why I asked if we had a number, so we could find the money. Because we're going to have to anyway, because we have to spend the money. We have to make sure that that's just his budget from the year. That's not what he's spending now under the emergency declaration. And we have to find the money, because we have to make sure that our people are taken care of. But we don't have a number. And the only number that I have is the money for district projects. We could give him that. It's $124,000. And that's probably just a drop in the bucket. Yeah. He needs $600,000 right now, at least. But that's why we need a number, to figure out where we can get the money from. But if he doesn't have a number, then we can't figure out where we're going to get the number from, where we're going to get the money. We just need the number. But that will he'll probably have to bring that back to finance.
600 is the number I have on there. It's, I mean, we haven't even touched spring yet, so.
I thought this was just a proposed budget, just for now. And this is what you've spent on this disaster?
150 is where we're at now for this year. With everything trying to estimate up to today's, what we have, and I mean, what we've spent. I mean, we spent a lot of money in the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
That's what I'm saying. That's why we need to know how much.
Yeah. Well, we started with 250,000 this year for the year to start, and we're into March already. I mean, end of March, April. For budget going forward, I mean, I think 600,000 is what we talked about today in our this week about what we're dealing with right now and what we're going to be dealing with in the spring. I mean, that's
600,000 in addition to the 250 or to the 150 that's already spent?
To the 150? To where we're at right now at the 150. So, I mean, everything that we have is depleted as far as resources, water, food that we stockpiled. We got it out there for the initial hit, and everything that we have is gone. My building is pretty much empty right now from all of this.
I think that this should come back to finance, and we can meet with the treasurer and figure out where we can mod the general fund budget from. Because it's gonna have to be a mod to get this amount.
If you have to do...
How soon can he come back before finance? Thursday. Are you sure? Because I've been waiting for finance for like 2 weeks. Really? Wow, we're supposed to have a meeting first. You're supposed to come to me, guy. Oh, yeah. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, what do we, Councilwoman Little Hawk question?
I think I'm going to make a motion to refer this back to the Finance Committee, and so that they can make a decision on what they can do to help with emergency management this Thursday, so just do it that way.
Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Question or comment, is that what you have? Councilwoman Berkeley, you have a question or comment as well?
I was gonna
just before I let you speak, I just needed to know so I can go in order. Okay, so Councilwoman Merdania.
I feel that this is important, and if all of us chipped in out of our travel line item, and that's including the executive board, 10,000, that at least give them 260,000 to continue to move forward with the current issues. I've just got texts from individuals in various communities who are still, like Steve said, that are still needing assistance. So you have an elderly living in her car. She can't get anywhere. There's another one, they're walking water across a makeshift bridge that they made to haul food in water. It's a footbridge. I mean, these are realities out there for our people, and if this is a priority for us, then let's commit. Let's do something, take some action now, and find the other resources in Finance Committee. That would be there's a motion on the floor, but I would definitely encourage us to also commit to this effort.
Thank you, Councilwoman Merdinian. Councilwoman Bearkiller?
Okay, I was gonna make with the motion that came out, maybe that 124,000 that's left over, bench that in now. And then come Thursday, I think if we all come together and with him, talking about the FEMA and the IT declarations, maybe something will come through on those. But at the same time, you know, he just now told me that the task force is here 2,000 per day. Is that per individual? And what's the task force? That's the ones that are actually doing transporting the or what are the task force doing?
So Task Force One, we brought those in because, you know, from my office, I can't ask anybody that's untrained to go in the water to save somebody. You know, we have fast-moving water out there. We have flood stage, you know, activity going on. I can't ask anybody from our office to do that, to go out there for liability issues. No. So that was one of the resources that we called in from the South Dakota State, you know, emergency management, and a price tag around, you know, $2,000 a day for a team, and that's not something that I'm, you know, willing to go, you know, second class on when it comes to life saving. So they actually demobbed out today. They're no longer here, and that's who the search and rescue team, the Task Force One guys.
So I feel like if he could sit down and realistically look at what is paid, what is unpaid, what really needs to be, you know, dealt with right away. If he could bring those to finance, maybe we could do a actual working budget for you. Because like all of us, I thought yesterday's meeting, we all said we need graders, we need equipment, and maybe to create an emergency management on the east side of the reservation too. So I think so that way if something like this happens, there's two managements and not one trying to stretch all the way across. So those plans was bought and put on the table too. So, I mean, that's my motion. If they could add it to their motion to give them the 124,000 right now and deal with it on finance.
Councilwoman Little Hawk Weston, that is your motion?
You know, I could amend my motion to include that, but, you know, when we had that special council meeting at the Justice Center, we took motions on the floor and then we came back and modified the budget. You know, so I think that we need to do that, like Lydia's saying, and get this done, because if Friday there's just some more snow coming, then we better be prepared, but at least to know that our emergency management also has the funds to operate. So I'll go ahead and amend my motion to include that in there, but to forward it back to Finance Committee Thursday.
Councilwoman Whitehorse.
So that would be to amend the resolution we just passed, to take the funding from the wind energy funds previously set aside for future district projects, and the remaining balance of 124,529.61 to be immediately transferred to the emergency management budget.
That'll be my motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Oh, we do have a second on the floor. Thank you. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk?
Yes.
Garfield Apple?
No.
Glenn Gibbons?
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller? James Cross? Sonia Little Hawk Weston? Jackie Sears? Vincent Tulance?
Yes.
Craig Dillon? Cora Whitehorse?
Yes.
Valentina Merdanian? Bo Little White Man?
Yeah.
Chauncey Wilson?
Yeah.
Philip Goodcrow?
Oh,
Randy Laisbed?
yes.
Richard Greenwald?
Yes.
Makina Mills?
Yes.
Robin Tapio?
On my case.
Yes. 17 yes, 1 no.
Chairman,
Mm,
I'd like to change my vote to yes.
I didn't, yeah. Okay, so unanimous, motion carried. And just for the record, finance, when you guys meet, I mean, if you guys do have to take some of my travel budget, feel free to do that. I don't want it to be misconstrued that I didn't want to give my travel up. Councilwoman Medanian?
I'd like to make the motion that I proposed, that if we take 10,000 from each of our travel budgets, including executive board, that would bring up 260,000 to assist with the emergency needs.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. No discussion? Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk?
No.
Garfield Apple?
No.
Glenn Gibbons? Yes. Lydia Bearkiller?
No.
James Cross? Sonia Little Hawk Weston?
Yeah.
No. Jackie Sears?
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance?
No.
Craig Dillon? Cora Whitehorse?
No.
Valentina Merdanian? Bo Little White Man?
No.
Chauncey Wilson?
No.
Philip Goodcrow?
No.
Randy Laisbad?
No.
Richard Greenwald?
Take it all, yes.
Makina Mills?
You still ain't gonna be happy, just gonna be short.
Oh, sorry. Ditto, yes.
Robin Tapio?
Take mine all too.
Do I get a vote on it?
We have 7 yes, 11 no, motion failed. How, Councilman Yellowhawk?
Yes. You know, all the people that want to go to give up to travel, we should take them all and give it to emergency. For the people that volunteer to give up their travel.
That makes you happy?
Councilman Yellowhawk, is that a motion?
That's the motion.
To take the travel from everybody that wanted to give their travel to the emergency? Okay, I got a motion and a second.
You're ready to go everywhere then.
Councilman Gibbons.
I tried to use my travel to send one of my district members on travel. I was told it was against the law. Are we gonna violate a law? Or is it the 10,000 that we were talking?
Excuse me, Councilman Gibbons has the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. I have no problem giving up 10,000 to travel. I don't like to travel. I know some of it's necessary, but I only travel when I have to.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Yellowhawk, you had something?
Yes. That's the motion. We're all the council members that want to give up their travel for emergency purposes, let them give it up.
Councilwoman Whitehorse.
That would be an amendment to the general fund budget, and so everybody who chooses to give up their travel, they can amend, we can get a ordinance back here to amend the budget to do that, if that's what they want to do. Yep, from finance.
Okay, do I have permission to speak on the whole executive board? Okay. Alrighty.
So Dwayne's motion would have to, he can say whoever wants to give up their travel, and he can refer it back to finance, and we can bring it back with a budget mod ordinance.
Okay. Now, did you hear that, Councilman Yellowhawk?
Say that again?
The travel is in the general fund budget, so it would have to be amended by an ordinance. So we have, and if we bring it back to finance, we could have all the council people who want to give up their travel, we could put them in a budget mod and bring that back.
That'd be good.
Okay, so I got a motion. And a second by Councilman Apple. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller,
Yes.
James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulent,
Yes.
Craig Dillon, Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentino Merdanian,
Oh,
Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chancey Wilson,
Yes.
Philip Goodcrow,
Oh.
Randy Laisbed,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Yes.
Nikina Mills,
yes.
Robin Tapio,
Yes.
18 yes, unanimous, motion carried. Councilwoman Berkeley?
Oh, I think we only have some resolutions left from HHS. I was gonna make a motion to move them on to XB. That's my motion.
Councilwoman Whitehorse?
The childcare stuff is over XB, isn't it? Their expenditures? One is a lease, and the other one is a purchase. So we would have to act on those, right?
Correct.
Oh, no, it's not, it's 42,000.
Councilman Goodcrow?
I just wanted to say, excluding our president on that travel, because you have to go to Washington DC, attend our travel chairman's meetings and so forth. So that, to me, I think that you should be excluded because you need to travel on behalf of the Oglala Sioux tribe also.
Okay, thank you. I'll come to finance, but I know where you're coming from. Thank you. Councilwoman Tapio?
Okay,
she's gonna read,
I'm gonna read the last resolution. Yeah, for, HHS, for, Johanna Dreamer. That one has to be passed tonight, and they sat here all day too. So, resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and Unincorporated Tribe. Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council recognizing the appointment of Johanna Dreamer to serve as Administrative Officer for the Health and Human Services Committee pursuant to ordinance number 18-18 as amended. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe organized under Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934 25 USC subsection 5123 by adopting a federally approved constitution and bylaws, and under Article 3 of the Tribal Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the tribe, and whereas Article 4, Section 1F, 1K, 1M, and 1W of the Tribal Constitution empower the Tribal Council to manage the economic affairs of the tribe, protect and preserve the property of the tribe, adopt laws governing the conduct of persons on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and adopt laws protecting and promoting the health and welfare of the tribe and its members. And whereas on July 2nd, 2018, the Tribal Council enacted Ordinance Number 18-18, establishing the office of the Chief of Staff of the Oglala Sioux Tribe to oversee and support all tribal programs, with the exception of the indirect cost programs, and further providing for the oversight and support of all indirect cost programs. And whereas pursuant to Section 2A of Ordinance Number 18-18 as amended by Ordinance Numbers 18 through 22 and 18 to 24 and other applicable laws, the administrative officer of the Health and Human Services Committee programs shall be a political appointee recommended by the Health and Human Services Committee and appointed by 2/3 vote of the Tribal Council. And whereas the Health and Human Service Committee did meet on March 12, 2019, and does recommend Johanna Dreamer as the Administrative Officer for the Health and Human Services Committee programs. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council hereby appoints Johanna Dreamer to serve as Administrative Officer for the Health and Human Service Committee program of the Oglala Sioux Tribe for 2 years, and be it further resolved that the Tribal Council hereby sets the salary of the Administrative Officer hired by this resolution at $63,840 per year, and be it further resolved that the Tribal Council hereby delegates authority to the Tribal President to execute any documents necessary to effectuate this appointment. With that, I move.
Motion and a second by Councilman Apple.
Dwayne Yellowhawk,
I'm sorry, I didn't see a hand for a discussion. Councilman Gibbons.
Thank you, President. Dean Patton, the next time I see him, I'm going to give him a firm handshake, and I think I'm going to give him a hug. He did all of this by himself, maintained, so we've got a Chief of Staff. Now we're giving her more people to do her job? Is that how we're doing that? Clarify, please. That's not an ordinance. We could change that.
Your mic's still on, Councilman Gibbons. Councilwoman Tapia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll clarify real quickly. Under that position, Mr. Patton, that was currently in, the Chief of Staff position, if you look at it, they get three employees. So it's always been set up that way. When Mr. Brownbull, the previous executive director, when it was called that, he also got three workers. So that's what this is. Excuse me, I can't even think of what I want to say. Thank you.
Councilman Yellowhawk.
Yes. You know, we're in a crisis situation. You know, it seems to me like give that 63,000 to emergency. Thank you.
Councilwoman Whitehorse.
That's a good idea, except for its indirect cost money.
Correct. Secretary, continue with the vote, please. Oh, Councilwoman Weston.
You know, I just want to say that for the new council, this was passed last administration by ordinance to put the Chief of Staff in, and along with that, she brings the recommendations to the Tribal Council for our approval. And this is one of the ones she's bringing forward, which is the Health and Human Services staff. And I guess the 63,000 seems to be being questioned by some of the council, but I think it might be according to budget and according to the salary scale, right? They're not on the salary scale. I'm sorry, I take that back. They're appointed, so it's just a political appointment.
Thank you. Also, Councilman Gibbons, I mean, in regards to what you said, we heard in executive session what was taken care of and not taken care of. So I think we might want to keep that in mind too, that she is dealing with a lot on her plate. She's entitled to those appointees or her employees. So, you know, I feel, you know, the same way like I felt with the positions in my office. I can't do it by myself. I'm still struggling and trying to get 2 more positions pushed through finance so I can get my other 2 people appointed. We're doing the best that we can with what we have, but we can do a better job if we have the appropriate personnel and the tools to do a good job on the behalf of the Oglala Sioux tribe. So I just want to mention that. Secretary, continue with the vote, please. Thank you.
Dwayne Yellowhawk.
No.
Garfield Apple.
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons.
No.
Lydia Bearkiller.
Yes.
James Cross. Sonia Little Hawk Weston.
Ha.
Jackie Sears.
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulane.
Yes.
Craig Dillon.
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Valentina Merdanian.
Here.
Bo Little White Man.
Yes.
Chancey Wilson.
No.
Philip Goodcrow.
Oh,
Randy Laysbeth.
no.
Richard Greenwald.
Yes.
Nakina Mills.
Yes.
Robin Tapio.
Yes.
Five. 13 yes, 5 no. Motion carried. Councilwoman,
Can I still make my motion to move the HHS items to XB?
Second.
and I got a second by Councilman Dillon. Councilwoman Whitehorse.
What about the water issue? Didn't you guys say we had to deal with that here and we still don't have paperwork on it?
Who else was
That
in-
one is just he's gonna apply for a grant for the tribe, right? That's what he's requesting to do. So it's just the executive could sign off on the resolution for him.
So are we continuing with this motion? Okay, so we got a motion to move all the rest of the remaining HHS items to XB.
Seconded by Dylan.
Seconded by Councilman Dillon. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhawk.
No.
Garfield Apple.
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons.
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller.
Yes.
James Cross. Did he leave? Sonia Little Hawk Weston.
Ha.
Jackie Sears.
Uh-huh.
Vincent Tulance.
Oh, yeah.
Craig Dillon.
Yes.
Cora Whitehorse.
No.
Valentina Merdanian.
Oh-huh.
Bo Little White Man.
Yes.
Chauncey Wilson.
No.
Philip Goodcrow.
Oh,
Randy Laysbad.
no.
Richard Greenwald.
No.
Nakina Mills.
No.
Robin Tapio.
Uh, 10 yes, 6 no, 2 not voting, motion carried. Oh, Councilman Little White Man.
Yeah, can all of council be at the finance meeting? Just,
Okay, so before we leave council, we still have, or before we adjourn, we still have one agenda item here to deal with. And that was a directive to the president to set up a date for the constitutional reform meeting. So, I believe, you gonna motion it? You 2/3 it on the agenda.
So I believe within that motion, I requested that you schedule a date within the month to set up that special meeting.
Okay, I don't think there was one specified, but you're specifying that now, so within 1 month to set up that meeting. Okay, do I have a second? I got a second by Councilwoman Sears. Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Dwayne Yellowhog,
Yes.
Garfield Apple,
Yes.
Glenn Gibbons,
Yes.
Lydia Bearkiller, James Cross, Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Vincent Tulens,
Yes.
Craig Dillon, Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Valentina Merdanian, Bo Little White Man,
Yes.
Chauncey Wilson, Philip Goodcrow,
Okay.
Randy Laisbeth,
Yes.
Richard Greenwald,
Suppose.
Nikina Mills,
Yes.
Robin Tapio,
Yes.